This podcast replay is brought to you by AccidentLawFirm.com. For truck, motorcycle, and rideshare accidents, call Bobby Nunez, 305-444-4407. AccidentLawFirm.com. And I told you we're going to do our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. We do it every week at 1 o'clock right here with the legend that is Manny Navarro from The Athletic. And, of course, go visit Caneswear at 2511 South University Drive in Davie. They've got all kinds of Caneswear stuff. That's why it's called Caneswear. Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins. They've got the Florida Panthers. They've got Inter Miami, and they even squeezed in a little Miami Marlins. I think there's like one shirt in the corner somewhere. No, actually, they've got shirts and jerseys and hats and all that stuff. So go see Bradt and all the amazing people there at Caneswear, man. And they've ordered 2,000 of those Inter Miami jerseys. So when they come out, they're going to be your headquarters for that. It's all about the U. And you can follow my man Manny at Manny_Navarro. And he is pumped up about Shreveport. Yeah, baby. Shreveport. Yeah. Have you already scouted all the bars? You know where they're at? You know, the one bar or something, I think, not bars, one bar or something.
They got a casino. Oh, I know that. They got a casino. That's about the extent of it. And I've never been to that Walk-On's restaurant, but they keep telling me it's good. We'll have to see when I go out there.
Well, I told Dave Furones the story yesterday, and I'll say it again. I'm driving to Dallas for the Super Bowl from Mobile, so I went through Shreveport. So Brandon, you remember my producer Brandon Rodriguez? He's hungry, right? So he goes, "Hey man, can we stop at this Sonic to eat?" And I go, "Yeah, all right, let's stop." So we pull into the drive-thru. We're in Shreveport, Louisiana, mind you. Remember that, Shreveport, Louisiana. We pull up to the drive-thru, we order, we get to the window, and there's an Asian dude about, to take my money. I look at his name tag, and his name is Bruce Lee. Boom.
Bruce Lee?
Yes.
That's where he's been hiding all these years.
That's right, bro. You thought he was dead? He's serving you Sonics in Shreveport. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, bro. I took a picture of him. I say, "Can I take a picture?" He goes, "Happens all the time." And I go, "Yeah, bro. Who the hell's going to run into an Asian dude named Bruce Lee in Shreveport, Louisiana?" And he started laughing, Come on, man. That's just awesome. So just in case, if you go now to Shreveport, if you go to the Sonics that's it's close to that university that's got purple in it. I don't know what the hell the name of the university is.
Right.
That Sonics, just tell me if the Asian dude is still working there, whatever it is, 5-8 years later.
I'm going to just walk in there and ask for Bruce.
Ask for Bruce. Simple. That's it. Tell him, yo, where's Enter the Dragon? Where is he? Right now. Let's go for it. All right, brother. So talk to me. The reaction of getting Shreveport, is this a positive? Is this a negative? By the way, do they even make money from a bowl game like this, or do they lose money by going to this bowl game?
Well, it's my understanding the ACC. I mean, all of this money ends up sort of being split between all of the teams in the conference, wherever the ACC goes. So I think they've got, 10, 11 teams in bowl games this year.
Oh, okay. I see. All right.
So in the end, it kind of goes into a pot and everybody gets a piece of it or gets a percentage of it. So, I mean, in the end, that's what conferences, with these agreements and bowl agreements are all about. It's just sharing the wealth. So they'll make money no matter what off of going this game. The bigger thing is, I don't think it really matters if they win or lose, because I'm pretty sure that if they finish 7-6 or 6-7, we're all still going to be sitting here saying, but they lost to FIU.
Right.
So to me, it's kind of, I know people are like, "Oh, you got to win. You don't want to finish 6-7. I don't see any difference in win or loss in this game. And I hope that leads to seeing some young guys who are going to be counted on in 2020. I'd rather see those guys play.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing this year too, right? There were some 4 or 5-star guys that they couldn't find a way to get him on the field.
Yep.
I mean,
Lorenzo Lingard. I mean, he comes in for 2 plays against Duke. He's in the backfield and he's out there blocking. I think the game before that, when I saw him, I don't know if it was Virginia, was one of those games in the middle of the season where he's out there on kickoffs and he's out there blocking. Look, he was coming back from injury. I understand the coaches wanted to be cautious with him. They didn't want him to get hurt, but to me, he could have gotten hurt running up and down on kickoff coverage or blocking in the backfield. So what's the point? If you have him in the game, play him. Give him a few carries. Let's see what he can do. And I think, my understanding is he'll be healthy enough in this game to play a role. I know Cam Harris is coming back from a knee injury. Navon Donaldson's going to miss the game. Navon Donaldson might miss the beginning of the 2020 season as well, by the way. I know it's a pretty bad knee injury from what I've heard. And then you'll have some other guys back. John Campbell will probably be your starting left guard. You'll get a chance to see him play a full game and not just backup minutes for Donaldson. And then you'll have the Jafari Harvey kid, the freshman defensive end. He'll play a lot because John Garvin and Trayvon Hill are gone. So you're going to see some young guys for sure get some PT in this game. And, I know Miami's listed as a 7.5 point favorite, but this Louisiana Tech team, the starting quarterback, the whole offense, they're all redshirt juniors or seniors. So they're going to be playing a veteran team that's playing an hour away from home that is completely motivated to want to beat the University of Miami. So I would not be surprised if the Canes do not win this bowl game.
Let me ask you something. Have you been able to talk to Trayvon? Because it's interesting. He's not going to play in the bowl game, but I would imagine I'm going to see him in Mobile for the week, correct?
Yeah, that's the plan. I think Trayvon was just of the idea that he's got to focus on his pro career now. Let's face it, he graduated from Virginia Tech. I don't know what kind of classes he was taking at Miami, but once you graduate from, you can get your degree. I'm sure he wasn't very motivated to show up for whatever classes he was taking at Miami if he was doing anything at all. So it's one of those deals now where, he's got an agent that's talking to him in his ear and telling him, hey, prepare for the Senior Bowl. That's going to count a lot more than playing in a really bad bowl game.
Okay, we just talked about Lingard. Is there a part of Trayvon that's like, well, they didn't use me right here either. I'm done with these guys. Let me move on. Screw them. I'm just going to worry about myself. You think there's any of that lingering?
No, I don't think that's it at all. I didn't get that sense from him during the season when we got a chance to talk to him. And, we exchanged some messages on Twitter after he announced the whole thing about, turning pro. And my understanding is, he liked his time at Miami and just ready. I mean, look, these guys, the graduate transfers, this is the way it's supposed to go. When you get a graduate transfer, this is what the transfer portal's for. You get a senior who comes in, gives you one season, he's part of the rotation, and he helps out. And that's it, and Miami just took too many guys in the transfer portal this year that didn't pan out. That we all thought, well, they're getting Tate Martell and Asa Martin and Tommy Kennedy, the offensive lineman, and some of those guys didn't play at all. I mean, really, when you look at the transfer portal, we made such a big deal about it in the preseason, right? Like, oh my God, man, he's the king of the transfer portal. Well, go back and look at it now. I mean, Chigozie Naruka, the defensive tackle from UCLA, he didn't really play that much. He was a very low-end rotational player at defensive tackle. Outside of KJ Osborne, Trayvon Hill, and Bubba Bolden. It really didn't work out for Miami the way that they wanted to. And in the end, Bolden, it's unfortunate Bolden got hurt. But he's probably going to be the biggest deal in this whole thing because I can see him being a starter next year and being really, really good.
Manny Navarro, of course, with our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. Go to 2511 South University Drive in Davie. Go see Bradt and all the great people there at Caneswear. Manny, what happens with the coaching staff? I know people have been talking about it. I know Manny has kind of stayed away from it. What's your gut tell you? What's your reporting tell you? What do you think? Do they stay status quo, or is he going to make any changes, especially on the offensive side?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I know Manny's avoided it. Yesterday was the first time we got him on the phone since the Duke game, and he basically said, listen, I'm only focused on recruiting right now, and then it's the bowl game, and then we'll talk about, changes in philosophy, changes in the coaching staff. So he's tabling it for after the bowl game, which is smart because you got to still recruit, right? You still have those coaches out on the road. You don't want them to look like dead men walking as they're recruiting. So, I think there'll probably be some changes. I think there'll probably be some conversations about Stubblefield, the wide receivers coach. I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but I think there'll certainly be conversations. I mean, look, they just lost 2 4-star commitments in the 21 class. Those guys at times this season underperformed. Jeff Thomas really didn't have a great season. And you didn't really see consistent play out of that position. And, Stubblefield is one of Dan Enos' guys. He's one of the two guys that were part of Enos' staff before at Central Michigan, Butch Berry being the other guy. But I don't see Manny Diaz making any major changes outside of maybe an assistant coach or two, or, telling a guy, hey, why don't you go get a job somewhere else? Or, I don't want to fire you. Let's make this look the right way. So I expect that the same staff will be back. There may be some conversations with Enos as far as tweaks that need to be made in terms of, do we do less RPO, less play action because our offensive line isn't good enough to hold and give our quarterback protection. But I think, people can't forget, this is a really young, a really bad offensive line. And I think the receiver position, really, when you look at it, grand scheme of things, they really disappointed this year. There were so many games where you just kept wondering, why aren't guys open? And especially the Duke game, they looked really bad where nobody was getting open other than Will Mallory in the middle of the field. So, I think something obviously has to be done. There will be some changes made. There will be adjustments made. But as far as firing coaches and all that kind of stuff, I don't think there's going to be major changes.
How about on defense? Because he had to kind of interact there and interject and kind of take over on defense. So clearly the guys that took over weren't doing a good enough job and weren't delivering the message that the coach has to then do it. So what happens on defense, my brother?
Good question. Obviously Blake Baker, he needed Manny to step in and help get attention of some of those seniors at the linebacker position. To me, that's where I saw the issue. As soon as Manny got involved, all of a sudden Shaq Quarterman started to play better and Michael Pinkney started to play better. And it was more of a deal where, those guys maybe weren't listening to Blake Baker the way they should. And Manny had to interject. But in the end, you look at the numbers the defense put up, finishing in the top 20 in sacks, tackles for loss, total defense. Manny's not going to fire Blake Baker for, after a season like that. Obviously, there were breakdowns in coverage, some mistakes made with a young secondary, but they can always turn around and just say, look, we had 3 new starters back there, and we had some guys that got hurt. We lost Bubba Bolden in the FSU game. But there's excuses for them to sort of say there's no reason to make any changes. I thought, in terms of player development, obviously you saw some guys improve on defense. Obviously, Gregory Rousseau took a big step forward at defensive end. I thought Todd Stroud had a good year developing some guys, and all we've heard about is how great those 3, freshman defensive tackles are. So, I don't think there's going to be any changes on the defensive end, but you never know. Again, it could be one of those deals where a guy, just decides, hey, I want to go coach somewhere else, or I got a better offer elsewhere. Let's not forget, one thing I will say, beginning of the season, Ephraim Banda was sort of made assistant head coach. He's a safeties coach. And I think he probably had his eye on the defensive coordinator job, and he essentially got passed over when they went out and got Blake Baker. So I don't know if maybe Banda, but I don't get that sense because these guys are so into selling They've been Manny's guys. They're loyal guys. I don't think Manny's going to make any changes on that side of the ball. I think if there are changes, it'll probably be offense.
All right. There's been some talk about, somebody brought up Alonzo Highsmith on the show, that there's some rumored about Zoe going to the University of Miami. Is there any truth? And if there is any truth to it, what kind of a position are we talking about?
Well, I think the idea has been floated out there by the media, certainly on message boards, about bringing Alonzo in to be sort of an overseer of the football program, kind of like the general manager of the football program. I will say this. Alonzo Highsmith loves the University of Miami. He's got a deep passion for them. He's a Miami native, comes back all the time. Seen him in South Florida at various points throughout the season. But I don't think Alonzo Highsmith would leave his position with the Cleveland Browns unless there's going to be some changes with the Cleveland Browns, because let's not forget they had a pretty bad season.
Yes.
I think the only way Alonzo leaves and comes to UM is if he's pushed out of Cleveland. That's what I'll say about that.
Okay. All right. So that there's nothing to it, in other words. Okay. That's just so. Yeah,
there may be some.
It's just silliness of fans on the message boards. That's what it is. Really. That's what it was.
I think there can always be preliminary conversations, but if you ask me, I think Alonzo has spent a lot of time in the NFL.
And no time in college, by the way. No time in college.
Right, no time in college. And while he understands some of the hurdles that Miami has, if he's going to come in here and basically be Manny Diaz's boss, what does that mean for Blake James? What does that, this would have to be some sort of major structural change. And I would think that Alonzo Highsmith would come in and want to make coaching changes. So, again, those are all conversations that could be happening in the background, and maybe he's semi-interested. But, again, my feeling has always been that Alonzo wants to be in the NFL, likes being in the NFL, and likes his position with the Cleveland Browns, and that's his first choice. I'm
with you. And, of course, you can follow Manny Navarro on Twitter like I and so many others do at Manny_Navarro. Catch his work there at The Athletic, as always, getting it done. Manny, what are you working on right now at The Athletic so folks can check it out?
Well, we all know the early signing period is next Wednesday. So a week away from signing day, Miami's got the 15th ranked recruiting class. Manny Diaz has been busy. He was in California Sunday night to meet with Justin Flo, the number one linebacker in the country. Monday, he was meeting with the number one tight end in the country, Darnell Washington, and now he's going to finish out the week visiting with other recruits that Miami's chasing after. Miami's got one more official visit weekend this weekend, and most of those guys are long-time commitments that are all just kind of coming, which has been tradition. The last official visit weekend, where all the commits come together and basically hang out and get to know each other really well before signing and then arriving in January. So I'll have a story, a recruiting tracker type story, updating people on what's sort of going on here with a week to go before signing day. I have a feature story, from my time in the Northeast last week. I actually went and sat down with Tyler Van Dyke, the 4-star quarterback recruit that's a part of this class. It could be Jared Williams' replacement. I spent the day at his high school, which, by the way, he went to the same high school as Christian Wilkins, the Dolphins' first-round pick at Suffield Academy. And his high school coach not only coached Christian Wilkins, but also Brian Belichick played at that school. So, cool little feature story I'll do on Tyler.
Brian Belichick. Brian Belichick played at that school?
Yeah.
All right. So do they cheat there too?
Well,
I gotta ask, bro. I gotta ask. You can't just bring up Belichick and me not ask you, bro. I just can't allow that to slide. Well, did you catch the kid with a camera? Is what I need to know.
As far as I know, I didn't see any cheating, man. Again, there was about a foot of snow on the ground, so the football field was covered, and we didn't go out to see if there were cameras like on the goalpost or behind the visiting.
Be careful.
Behind the visiting bench, but no, I did notice a photo of Bill Belichick standing there in the coach's office with the coach and his son. But again, I mean, look, Tyler Van Dyke's an interesting kid. Throws a 91-mile-an-hour fastball, really strong arm, throws the ball about 60, 70 yards downfield. He's got that kind of arm strength. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can come in this spring and really compete for the starting job. So I'll have a story on him, and I'll have a story on one of the two linebacker recruits currently committed, Tyreek Austin Cave, who he was in his playoff game. Jonathan Packey was actually on the sideline, Miami's linebackers coach, when a shooting broke out. A 10-year-old boy was killed, and so I have a story on that as well, and just about Tyreek and everything else. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that'll be coming here in the next week or so.
Follow him on Twitter, Manny_Navarro, and it's a must. Subscribe to The Athletic. Get all the insight there. Manny, as always, you're a stud, my brother. Thank you for taking some time.
Thanks for having me on, O.
You got it. Oh, it's our pleasure, man. Thank you. Yeah! You film it. So a Belichick was there, huh? Filming that stuff. That's what he was doing.